G'day guys, Big V podcast here, and we are with our Youth League 2 women today. Now we're going to discuss offensive average points per game and defensive average points per game within these 8 teams. Now it's quite close across the board. 70 points per game average to around the 60 point mark. So 10 points per game average. It's quite close within this league as a whole.
Yeah, and I guess that sort of weighs into the ability of these two teams and this division, and that sort of there is on any given night, any team can upset anybody in this competition.
Absolutely. And then, we'll kick it off straight away because we got Whittlesea at the top, averaging 70.9 points per game. They are fourth on the ladder, but they're sort of working their way up. They've won 4 of their last 5 games.
Yeah, exactly. They're moving. They sort of started the season a little bit slower than they would have liked to, but no, they've got Bodley and Ryan who sort of carry their offensive load and sort of keep them going, and they've got a number of pieces who can just bob up any week.
Absolutely, and they're two games off. Second place Mornington. They're 6-5, whereas Mornington are 8-4. So they still do have a little bit more work to do, but if they continue to score at the clip they are, they're going to be in a good stead.
Yeah, certainly trending in the right direction, aren't they?
Absolutely. Bellarine are an interesting one. They're undefeated this year. They're first on the ladder, averaging 68 points per game. So they're not the leading scoring team, but you look on the other side, they're holding teams to under 50 points per game.
Yeah, if anyone's playing that sort of defense, they're going to put themselves in a really good position. And I think coming into the season, we were probably a little bit naive in terms of understanding their depth. We thought, by losing Carly Sanders last year, it was going to expose them in certain areas, but it's actually, they've probably tightened up their defense with some of their other players. I think there's a couple of Field sisters, maybe they're sisters. That's an assumption. But and then Piper Copeland, and they've got a number of different defensive weapons who are getting it done.
Absolutely. You look towards the bottom of this ladder, and it's not outrageous. Western Port is sitting 6th on their ladder, and they're averaging 59 points per game. Sherbrooke is 7th, averaging 63 points per game. Probably a lot of that would go to Olivia Kingston having some massive games across the season thus far. But if these teams continue to score and get a little bit better offensively and generate some stops, there's teams here that can definitely make pushes for finals.
Yeah, certainly the difference in this league from top to bottom is not as large as others. Other leagues we're seeing 30-point differences in best offensive versus worst offensive. It seems like there's an 11-point discrepancy between these two teams. So, I think any given, the Western Ports, the Sherbrooks, the Blackburns, they tied it up more consistently, offensively and defensively, and they'll be knocking off some of these top sides.
Absolutely. You look at it from the other way around defensively, Sherbrooke and Blackburn are giving up over 70 points per game and are unable to score. So averaging, losing games by around, 10 to 12 points. There's definitely room for improvement there, but, there's no massive real standouts here. The teams that are at the top of the table are the teams that are holding teams to the lowest scores.
Yeah, it sort of helps that sort of saying, defense wins games. It's pretty clear here. The best defensive teams are winning the games. I think when you look at Sherbrooke and Blackburn, they give up 74 points and 72 points respectively. That's actually higher than the best offensive unit in Whittlesea, who are averaging 71 points a game. So it goes to show they really need to adjust defensively. Maybe start throwing a zone in there, throwing a bit of full court pressure. Try and junk it up a little bit, just to create a little bit of disruption for these other teams.
Absolutely, and when all these teams do come across Bellarine, unable to score, maybe there is something that this league can change against them. Whether they play or try to play at a different pace, whether they try and play just a little bit differently and try and expose some areas where Bellarine might not be as strong at, which is obviously pretty tough to find.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something because you can't sit there and be content with them keeping it at less than 50 points a game.
Yeah.
So teams are going to have to throw the whole kitchen sink at them offensively to try and disrupt Bellarine's solid defense.
Absolutely. Look, that'll be all for us today, guys. Keep it locked in with Big V, and we'll speak to you all very soon.